Hello everyone, Ace here, and today I've decided to have yet another look at some video game history, and in the process answer the question, what exactly made Excitebike great? First released all the way back in 1984 as the first entry of Nintendo's Excite franchise, and going down in history as one of the best games on the original NES, Excitebike is a true classic from the early days of Nintendo, and is a game that stands out in its own little way even today. But to understand why this is the case, let's look at what exactly made Excitebike great. And the first thing that made Excitebike great was how it did the racing. Rather uniquely, in a racing game, Excitebike does not focus at all on making sharp turns or anything like that. Instead, it's about making epic jumps and landing as squarely as possible to keep your momentum going as much as possible. That and keeping an eye on your temperature gauge so you don't overheat your engine. Now granted, you can change lanes in the middle of the race for strategic purposes, and you should. However, Excitebike is more stunt driving game than it is racing game, even though it is still technically a racing game. Naturally, this unique approach allows the game to stand out quite nicely, and be all that more memorable in players' minds, as well as simply being a unique blast to play. But for those concerned about the potential to run out of tracks, well, fear not. Because the next thing that helped make Excitebike great was the fact that it came with a level editor built right in. Now, it is worth noting that Excitebike is not the first game to have ever released with a level editor. However, the fact that it did come with one, and also the fact that the level editor in question is very easy and fast to use, especially given the limitations of an NES controller, is still extremely noteworthy and still greatly extends the life of this game. So yes, the level editor was another thing that helped make the game great. But I do believe there is one final bigger picture piece to the puzzle, and that has to deal with the legacy that this game has, or more specifically, its engine. It is of note that the game engine developed for Excitebike would later go on to be the exact same game engine used in Super Mario Bros. A year later. In a lot of ways, the development of Excitebike was a key cornerstone in the bigger picture development, therefore, of Super Mario Bros., the game that made Mario the mascot of Nintendo, and by extension made Nintendo the juggernaut of video game console companies in the 80s. It can therefore be said, without exaggeration, that Super Mario Bros. Execution, and in some ways very existence, is owed at least in part to the success of Excitebike. With all of that in mind, this has been Ace, and I hope you'll agree when I say that Excitebike is great.